In this video, we're going to learn how to create tables, a banner, some hyperlinks, so that and then your lesson will only be or your assignment will only be to create 2 tables. So you're actually going to practice more things with me than you'll actually be doing as part of your lessons. So what I want you to do right now is go ahead and open up a brand new blank file. Remember, when we go to File and New, Blank Page, HTML, and None. And we're going to go with the total design view here. You can peek back and forth at your code, but I want to give you as much space as possible to work with. So we're going to create a table to insert a banner and hyperlinks at the top of our page, or a menu bar if you will, and then we're going to create another table to just add some content to the page for practice. You need to practice these steps with me. Don't just watch so you remember how to do it. If your insert tab is not available within your task pane on the right hand side, if you go to Window and if you select the Insert option at the top, then it will open for you. I want you to go ahead and click on the table icon, and what you're going to see here, your numbers might be different. It remembers what was last used, but we're going to create a table to begin with that has 2 rows, that has 1 column, and your table width was probably set at pixels. We're going to reset that to percent. Percent is way easier to understand, and what that means is what percent of the screen will your table be taking up. We want this to stretch across the entire thing, so we're going to set it at 100%. For this particular table, we don't want to have a border, so we'll change that to 0, and cell padding and spacing are at 0. And the nice thing here is you get little icons that let you know when you change those numbers how that will affect the appearance of your table. If we had any headings, we could create that layout, meaning kind of like labels to define our table. We can select one of these layouts, and then we can write some behind the scenes notes. The caption will appear, of course, within our table. We're not going to use that today, and a summary then is sort of background notes, so we get a little bit more information that we can set up. Once we're done here, we'll click on OK, and you can see we've got this little mini table across the top. I want you to put your cursor in the top cell. It's going to be a little hard to see, okay, but when I click on the top cell, I get this little border here, and I'm seeing the red border around that top cell if I mouse away from that top cell. What we're going to do is we're going to insert an image from your Lesson 4 data files, and so I'll go to Insert an Image, and this particular image is the talking pen banner that we're going to put. This is something we hired graphics to design for us, and it's what's going to appear across the top, and I'll show you in a moment. Now, I didn't pre-save that to my data files, which I should have done. I'm doing things quickly here in order to get this prepared for you, but I would suggest you go ahead and save this to your data files. Any alternate text, I'm just going to say that this is my banner in case for some reason it doesn't load. Now, this particular image only took about 20% or so of the width of my entire table, and it just so happens, because I'm brilliant, I want to add a background that matches the yellow of the rest of this pen here, or the rest of the banner, and I happen to know what that is. And so if I come over here where it says BG for background, I'm going to add a background color here, and the color that's going to make that yellow happen is the # or hashtag FFFF99. And I enter that in, and then that stretches and fills the rest of my banner. So I have a lovely banner across the top. Now I'm going to click in the cell below, and how I know I've clicked it is if I am trying to click in the cell below here. I'm going to add some text to the bottom cell, and what I'm going to add I'm going to create my menu bar, what I think that the hyperlinks, and of course I've planned this site out so I know this, but for this example I'm going to create my hyperlinks, and to do that I'm going to type home for a link to my home page, which is what I'm creating here. And then remember, if I do the shift of that key right between the backspace and the enter, I get that vertical line. I'm going to add that, and I'm adding a space between so that it'll be easy for me to see that the vertical line as I enter it. And contact us. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to say for this particular project I only want these three things entered here. And once I get that done, I want to change if you look down here at the bottom, it gives us information that we can control for this cell, and I want the information in this cell centered. Okay, so I do that and now my home is centered. I'm also going to adjust the font of this of the text that I've added so far. To do that, I'll go into page properties once again, and I am going to change this. Just the book suggests that we do a Courier New for this, but I'm going to go with the Comic Sans and a little bit more of a cursor look for this. And I'm also going to change the background color here. I'm actually going to, the background color is going to be kind of a blue, and I happen to know what that number is, hashtag 336699, and because that will match the blue that I have in the talking pen. And then I'm actually going to change my text color to be the same as my background color here so that it stands out. And once again, that was a hashtag 4Fs 29s. Okay, so I've changed. I'm not going to worry about size right now. I could do that, but you can see that I'm seeing that blue here. Once I enter in the text color, I would see that yellow shade here, and I'm going to apply and OK. Now, I've created this page and I've got a theme going on. I've got my background. I've got my cell information, and I can see that it's readable as it's been set up here with this particular project. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to I'm going to update actually the background that I want for. I have an image that I want to use to make this happen. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to my page properties. I know we practiced a background color here. I think what I'm going to do is change it so this bottom cell has that background, but I want to add actually for the time being an image that I have saved rather than the background color. And so if you go ahead, did I do that too quickly? Let me go back. If you click on with your page properties open, under background image, if you go to browse, and what we want to do is we want to navigate to the lesson 4 files in the student files of the web design directory. So if you pull down here, because yours will probably show your data file, if you scroll down and select the web design directory, once you're there, student files, and once you're there, lesson 4, not lesson 4 practice, but regular lesson 4, and then you can see that we've got this image called background, and what it is it's some very faint squares, and you'll see them. So now I think I'm gonna take this background off, and we'll add that in another spot. I don't want to do no. I think I'll just go back to a white here and then have that image browsed, apply it, and OK. And it's a little hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see that there's some tiny squares. Then I want you to put your cursor in this cell, this bottom cell right here, right behind this text that we can hardly read, and we're going to add a background for this cell now. And how we do that is rather going into page properties, we go into the right next to the background color here, and the color that we had used to practice the blue was the hashtag 336699. And that's where we'll enter that. And now this blue matches here. We've got the yellow text, all is well. So now here's an interesting piece as we continue on here. Let's go ahead and let's save this now as our home page. And so I'm going to change my title here to be home page. This is a home page for Talking Pen. And I'm going to save it as the same file name, and I'm going to put it in my Dreamweaver folder. So I'm going to go ahead and my file name, and rather than saving it with these millions of things, I'm only going to save it as HTML, and I'm going to save it as homepage talking pen. And I'm going to save. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and copy these background images to that folder, and it's now saved for us. You'll see the tab shows that we've saved this file name. So this is our home page. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come on my home page and I'm going to highlight the word home, and I'm now going to create a hyperlink to itself. Okay, so once again, I maybe clicked too fast. For the hyperlink to work, you highlight the text you want to link from, and you select down here, Browse for File, because the most recent we've used has been your practice folder. We are now going to choose Homepage Talking Pen. Once I choose that, I click on OK, and I now have a hyperlink. You'll also notice I lost the yellow here, so I'm going to need to go back and fix this. Now let's add some information to this, and we're going to create a link for products. All right, so we're actually going to do it right on this page. We're just going to save it with a new name. So I'm going to enter to bring my cursor below or outside of the banner that I have. Okay, and I'm going to insert another table, and this time I'm going to enter a table that has 2 columns, and I think I'll start with 2 rows, and I'm only going to have this be 50%, and this time I'd like to have a little border between my cells, so I'll add a border of 1 here. And so here is my new table that I've just created. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put an image in this left cell and then a table within a table in the right cell. Okay, so with my cursor in the left cell, and by the way, I know I'm going to want to center this. I'm going to do that in advance. The image that I want to place in here is going to be the pen image that's also in the data files. Okay, so in the Lesson 4 folder, I'm going to put the pen image here and save it as it asks me to. I'll just say it's going to be called pen, and there that is. And now I'm going to put some information in the right cell. Okay, and in the right cell, this is because of the height having been adjusted here. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a table within a table, and I'm going to say in this particular table I'm going to have 2 rows and 1 column for this, and I'll just let's see, this table I think I'm not going to put anything for the width. I'm going to let it default be what it wants to be, but I'll put some border in there. And, well, that ended up being a little tiny, didn't it? I'm going to widen it. Do you see how I'm able to do that right here? I'm able to widen it. I'm going to widen it to the width of the thing. And now what I want to do is I want to add some, here is some. Oh, and I still have the yellow font turned on, don't I? Because I did that as the background. So that's going to be a little bit hard to read. Let's see. I think because it's to change the font color of, well, let me just add my text in and then we'll go add that. Here is some interesting information. And here's maybe going to be pricing for this product or something along those lines. Now, I can highlight both of those cells and I can say that I would like to center the information once again there within those cells so that it stands out. But you'll notice I can't really, I can use this class piece to try to add some font information. If I go in here and I change, maybe I want to change this to that blue, which is not that. I'm just going quickly here. And then I'm able to change. Do you see that I'm able to change the font color? If I come back here and I highlight this, and I come back in. I'm going to just see if this is, and I'm just choosing the wrong yellow here, but just to be quickly, yep, that it overrides. So when you use your page properties here, it changes all of the font in your text, and I must have missed highlighting the home information here as I was setting it up. So what we might need to do to be able to individually change the font for this particular